And we welcome you into another edition of the Ollie Reed Sports Podcast. We are now in episode 16. First things first, I want to say thank you to you guys out there. We reached 100 subscribers last week on YouTube. We just want to keep this podcast growing. And as always, we keep you connected along the way with high school and college basketball across the Mountain State and beyond. And also make sure you like and subscribe to the YouTube page. Also, make sure you guys give us a like and review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and all the popular podcast platforms. Today, we are joined by none other than ESPN's high school basketball national recruiting director himself, Mr. Paul Biancardi. Paul, I just want to say thank you so much for joining the show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to get this conversation going.
Oh, me too. I'm very excited for it as well. I know the fans out there are excited as well. Just want to go first things first, kind of talk about like your history, starting off as this kind of talk about like your basketball story before this happened with the high school basketball recruiting and such.
Well, there's two stories, right? There's the playing story and the coaching story. And the coaching story is a lot longer than the playing story.
Right.
As a basketball player, I played a local high school outside of Boston called Pope John the 23rd. I had a great desire to play college basketball. Did not get recruited, which was kind of devastating at the time, but I understood why. So I decided to go to Salem State College. That was the name of it back then. Now it's Salem State University. And I decided to be a walk-on. And the first year I walked on to the team, I got cut. And I really was, down about that, right? You're a walk-on. Nobody recruited you. So you tried out on your own. Pretty bold move. And still got cut. That's like, going to the party that you didn't get invited to, and then they don't let you in. And my second year was I broke my ankle in tryouts. And then finally my third year I made it. And the head coach at the time when I made it was Tom Thibodeau, the great NBA coach for the Knicks, the Bulls, and the Timberwolves, longtime assistant. He was a national world champion with the Boston Celtics in 2008. But Tom started his coaching career as a Division III head coach. He played at Salem State before that. And basically my superpower and my skill level was, the passion, the love of the game that came out in every practice, everything that I did, the intangibles, the hustle, the IQ, all the things that could maybe give me an edge over guys that were more physically gifted or more talented. And then I finished up at Salem State. And actually, Tom named me and two other guys, Dave Fazio, who was a great player, and Nate Bryant, another great player. Those were the best players on our team. All three of us were tri-captains in my last year. So to go from a cut walk-on to a captain was very fulfilling for me, as a young athlete trying to see how far the game could take me. And then in the coaching world, I went from a JV high school coach to a Division III assistant and back to Salem State where I played. I went to Suffolk University, Boston University as a volunteer. That was my big break, guys. Like you want to hear about breaks? I'm a Division III assistant, and I'm a substitute teacher in the Boston Public Schools. And I had a chance to go to Division I, but no money. Full-time work, no pay, as a volunteer. And I did it for Mike Jarvis, and it was one of the best things I ever did in my life because it taught me so much about the Division I world that I so desperately wanted to be a part of as a player, which never got there, but then as a coach. So I worked there after school every day from about 3 o'clock until 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night. And, did that for the entire season. Boston University made the NCAA tournament that year. So here I am in the NCAA tournament playing Jim Calhoun and Connecticut at the Hartford Civic Center. And we played pretty well for a first half, and then we got drilled in the second half. They were great. And then I went to Boston College as a graduate assistant. So again, there's no money involved, but more experience, more higher level sacrificing social life and finances to chase a dream. And then from the graduate assistant position, I went to full-time position. I got moved up from within. And then my career basically, started then as the full-time assistant at Boston College, was in the Big East for 7 years. We won the Big East championship when Boston College was in the Big East. And we also went to an Elite Eight, the furthest BC has ever been in the NCAA tournament. And we had a couple of pro players by the name of Bill Curley and Howard Isley. Those guys led us as seniors. And then I transferred to Ohio State, went to a Final Four, won a Big Ten Conference championship, a couple of NITs, and then I became the head coach at Wright State and moved on after that to St. Louis University with the great Rick Majerus. And then I ended up at ESPN, not trying to get the job that I have, but I got in conversations with the person who was doing the hiring. And the great story is I was trying to help him find somebody for the job, but the job kept circling back to me. And then eventually I took it.
It's awesome.
Yeah, that is great. That is great. And just kind of talk about that too. Like you had a story like coaching career, and then moving on to ESPN. Just what was the transition like from transitioning from coach to recruiter to recruiting analyst?
Yeah, that's a great question, because you go from what you've loved and dreamed about your whole life to taking a shot at something different. I think it's a great example to all people that, I stayed in the game, and I was at St. Louis, and we were building a program with Rick Majerus, who was one of the all-time best teachers of basketball, over 500 wins. He was considered at that time, and still is today, one of the greatest coaches to ever coach the game. So being with him was really awesome in basketball ways, and had the opportunity to take a chance at something different, something new. It was ground floor. So I went with it with the notion of I can always go back to coaching if I want, because I have the background and hopefully somebody will hire me. But I'm still here today talking to you guys now 16 years later. But the transition was difficult because you go from a university with a team and a staff, and you're very competitive in practice and games, and you're out recruiting. You're doing everything that a coach does and everything that I love. And then you go into corporate America, and that's what I am in. So there was an adjustment with the way things are run. There was an adjustment to the language of, what a daily existence was like, how corporate America media people talk versus coaches and players, right? It's a different terminology, different policies, different ways, different rules. But eventually I adapted pretty quickly, and I've met some wonderful people at ESPN.
That's awesome. And I just got a question too. This is kind of similar to what Ollie said, but what does it mean just to do what you do today, and how's that feel?
It feels awesome. It really does. I never thought that what I was going to do, what I was asked to do, I'm doing it today, was evaluate all the best players in the country. Well, I did that as a high major assistant and as a head coach at Wright State. Did that for 20 something years. So I knew how to evaluate the talent. Then they asked me, can you rank the talent, put them on rankings boards? Well, in recruiting, you do the same thing, but you just do it based on your team, right? You rank your recruits in order of priority. And so you separate them based on their ability and their skill level and their intangibles and their academics and character. So I had a background in evaluating and ranking. And then writing for ESPN was a little new and different. All right. I really didn't use a computer all that much. But now you have to write scouting reports. You have to write recaps from events. You have to write, backgrounds of these players. So the typing part of it with deadlines, mind you, was a new thing. So there was a lot of new skills that I picked up that now I think I'm very good at 15 years later. So I should be. We have a chance to be on television, which is awesome. We do all the high school games, as you guys know. I do the McDonald's All-American game, do college basketball games. I do the Big South and the ACC. I've done other conferences as well. Last year I did the Sun Belt and I did the Southern Conference. And I've done the Atlantic 10. I've done a lot of the major conferences. And then I have a chance to do NBA draft work. So really, I have my fix for as much basketball as that I can handle. And guys, you know a little bit. I could do this 24/7, 7 days a week. I don't look at it as work. I look at it as love.
Absolutely. I feel the same way about it. It's something you just have to have a drive for, and I've always had that passion for it, and I know you've always had the same passion for it. And speaking of which, just talking about that, do you have a specific favorite moment from either recruiting or from a coaching standpoint? What was one of your favorite moments in either the coaching and recruiting?
Well, there's long career, you have a lot of moments, but like my first year in the Big East, I was a graduate assistant. We went 1-15. We got our brains beat in by the best players in the world at that time in college. And this is when the Big East was bad. Like they were bad dudes, like bad meaning tough. And, it took a lot out of you to get beat up like that. Then the next year we come back and we went to the NIT. And then the NIT again, and then with these group of seniors that I mentioned to you, very important: Billy Curley, Howard Isley, Malcolm Huckabee, Gerard Abrams, and then we had a freshman by the name of Danier Abram. So we had a core group that led us to an Elite Eight. And think about this: the first game we play in the NCAA tournament, we beat Kelvin Sampson. He was at Washington State. Wow. Then we played Dean Smith. They were number one in the country. They were the number one seed and the number one team. We beat them. That was the big upset, 1994, Boston College over North Carolina. Wow. And then 5 days later, we played Bob Knight in Indiana. We beat them. And we're playing Florida. We're playing Florida and Lon Kruger. Lon Kruger has taken 5 different teams to the NCAA tournament, Hall of Fame coach. And we're within a few minutes of winning that game, but they pulled away at the end. So you're in an Elite Eight, and I can just tell you the high from that, and then the low after the loss. So that season was an incredible season, 94, but it started in 1990 when we got our brains beat in, 1-15, but we stuck together and grew together. So I think that period of time was a great memory. 97, we won the Big East Championship. We beat Pittsburgh, Georgetown, and Villanova. And, Villanova had, pros on their team, Tim Thomas and company. So that was a highlight. And then at Ohio State, nothing can really beat going to a Final Four, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It's amazing.
Great.
Guys, you walk out for practice and there's like 50, I don't know if it was 50,000, but it felt like 50,000. It was like 30-something thousand people just watching the practice. To get there, the road was, very exciting. And we had 2 great players and a great team. Scooney Penn, Michael Redd, were the key figures of the team. But we had players by the name of Ken Johnson, the all-time leading shot blocker at Ohio State, one of the best shot blockers in the Big Ten. Jason Singleton. His son, Jason Singleton Jr., is a very good player in Ohio, probably on the cusp of the ESPN 100. And Jason was a great defender. John Sanderson was an outside shooter. John Sanderson now is the strength coach at Notre Dame. His son, John Sanderson Jr., is committed to Notre Dame. So we had a great team: Brian Brown, Boban Savovich. Those were our core 6 guys. And, got us to the Final Four. So that was cool. And then being named the head coach at Wright State will always be a memorable moment. And in my first year became coach of the year in the league. So those were some of the highs. And then being with Rick Majerus, to learn from him, his brilliance as a teacher of the game taught me so much. So I've had an unbelievable coaching career in terms of highs and lows. And every program that I went to, from Boston University to Boston College, to Ohio State, to Wright State, to St. Louis, except for BU. BU was already, well in place. But all those other stops, everyone was a rebuild. So I had a chance to start at the bottom and help bring a program to the top. And there's nothing more satisfying than that, except for when you get to the top, to stay there.
Oh, absolutely.
Whenever you won Coach of the Year at Wright State, did you see, if you hadn't have left there in the first place, did you see yourself building on to that program and, making a run eventually?
Eventually, yes. After I left, there was a coach that came in, Brad Brownell, who's the head coach at Clemson, and he did a wonderful job. And he took a team that was predominantly recruits that I brought in and a couple of his own guys, but he took that team to the NCAA tournament. So that was the goal. That was the vision. There was a plan in place and a strategy of every day, how to get there. And so it was very satisfying to see those kids go to the NCAA tournament. And there was a player by the name of Deshaun Wood, and he was the Horizon League Player of the Year. He was also on the all-freshman team when I brought him in.
Yeah, that's really cool. Really interesting. Just wanted to talk about now we'll talk about the Adidas SSB championships coming up in Rock Hill, South Carolina. We got a couple of them ranked here in the ESPN Top 100 with the highest ranked recruit here at number 5, Mr. Caleb Holt, who just came back from winning a World Cup over there for the under-19 squad for Team USA in Switzerland. So let's kind of talk about Caleb Holtz and Game Elite, and let's kind of talk about how his game, how he's performed like from the years like to now.
Well, he's always had the right approach,
the
right effort. So he's given 100% of the time. And that's the starting block for all players, talented or not. I just was with him at Treviso, in Treviso, Italy, when they won the Adidas Euro Cup, and he was the MVP. Bo Ogden was the game MVP. Bo was terrific in the final game. Caleb Holt was great all tournament. He impacts the game with his defense, his transition finishing ability. His outside shot has really improved, and he's learning how to handle the ball as a playmaker, and at the same time, that doesn't take away from his scoring ability. And he guards the ball as well as anyone in the class. Super athlete. And like I said, right approach, great effort. Guys don't put enough stock into having the right preparation to get ready for a game, the approach that he's a team first guy, even though he's a star. So I can't say enough about Caleb Holt. His recruiting is as high level as there is out there. I'm looking forward to seeing him now in the Adidas circuit after USA Basketball and the Adidas Euro Cup.
Absolutely. And I'm about to say, like, he played a pivotal role in that game, in those games too. He's just a really great defender. You even had an NBA comparison to Josh Hart. It was really spectacular. It's very spectacular because Josh Hart, you already know, is a pivotal, plays a pivotal role for the Knicks. The reason why they made it all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals. Really good basketball team. I see that a little. I do see that in him, and I do believe that Caleb Holt has a great future ahead of him. Another kid that I think is going to be really good coming from the Adidas circuit, plays for New Heights from Blair Academy. Duron Rippey Jr., who I got to see a little bit of highlight clips of him. High flyer, can really go at it. This is just my personal opinion. I believe he kind of plays a little like John Morant a little bit in terms of athleticism and his defensive tenacity.
Well, I had a chance to, see him as well at the Hoop Group. I saw him in Italy with Adidas, and he was at the NBA camp, top 100. So he's been around. I've seen him a bunch on film. I had some other scouts see him live. I've had a heavy dose of Ripley Jr., and I made him a 5-star. Well, he made himself a 5-star. I just put it on paper for him.
Right.
He plays with great tenacity on both ends of the court, and that's very attractive to me. I see the skill level. He scores. He playmakes. He's trying to find the balance of being a scoring guard, but still facilitating to his teammates, and also learning how to run the offense. Guys got to learn how to slow down. A guy like him plays so hard, which is great. But on the offensive end, he has to process a little bit more and understand, how to run a play. Where's the execution happen? Who's going to be open and when not, how do I read the counter of the defense taking away our first and maybe second option? But he does have that individual ability to break you down off the bounce. And he's an attacking scoring point guard.
Yes, absolutely. And then speaking of attacking guards, you also got Taylor Kinney, who also was playing at this EuroLeague Euro camp there. Taylor Kinney, I got to see him play. Got to get to see highlights of him, and like I said before the podcast, Wildcat Select, always been a good AAU program. Has some in-state talent there. Some alumni, Jalen Bridges, Oscar Sheboy. Even though Oscar Sheboy played at WVU, but he was like a little close to Morgantown area, and then so on. And then you also have Adam Omadotes. Am I saying his name right? Omadotes? Is that how you say it?
Close enough.
Close enough. Almost had it. Yeah, but that's a dynamic duo. They both play for Overtime Elite. They also have a lot of good, solid players like Cole Edelin. I do believe he's kind of a player on the rise. Really good sharpshooter. Got his first high major offer from Pitt at the last Adidas session that was in Iowa, which is close to like Omaha, Nebraska, over there. I think that team is on the rise to win it, to most likely win it at all in Rock Hill, make it a championship Sunday.
Well, you mentioned some really excellent talent. Taylor Kinney, he plays with pace. He plays with more pace than other guards, meaning he knows when to slow down, speed up, kind of put it on pause on the offensive end. He keeps his team organized. At the same time, he's an outstanding outside shooter. He does a very good job, just like Ripley Jr., getting into the paint and serving up lobs or kicking it out. But he's not just a paint driver. He's a point guard who can shoot it. And I think he processes the game pretty well from an offensive perspective. Coben Landrew, I'll give you a name. He was at the Adidas Euro Camp, plays at Wheeler High School in Georgia for Larry Thompson. And he was on the cusp of the ESPN 100. He played so well in Treviso. His productivity and efficiency, shooting the ball, was outstanding. He's continued that throughout the month of June. So he recently got put in the ESPN 100 with our recent rankings. I'm high on him because he's 6'5", he's strong. And what I like about him is he's efficient. Whether he takes 4 shots or 14 shots, he's a guy who understands what a good shot is.
Absolutely. I've heard about him. I did see he played very well. He's been playing very well recently over the past couple of months. And let's see. Other than that, who do you think will be a top riser in this SSB championship or championship week? Who do you think will be one of the top risers coming out of the week?
Well, look, you got so much talent in that circuit, the Adidas circuit, so many great teams. One team I wanted to mention was the BABC, because they always, show up tournament time.
Yeah.
And there's a prospect on their team, Alex. I'm not quite sure of his last name, how to pronounce it. But Alex is 6'8" out of Boston. He's a top 100 prospect. And I think they're a team that will be there towards the end of the tournament. And I think Alex is a player that could emerge as one of the risers, so to speak. I put him into the ESPN 100. Basically was not in anybody's rankings at the time. And now I think he's a pretty well-known name. I think he's very good. I think Davion Atkins is a guy who could, really play well. Bruce Branch, another guy from the Compton Magic. Obviously, he's a highly ranked player, but I'll look for him to maybe have a breakout sort of week at Adidas. I think Compton Magic, I think the BABC, those two programs to me could be there come the end of the tournament.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with you. I mean, there's a lot, like you mentioned before, a lot of great talent at this tournament every single year. Rock Hill, South Carolina, always a great tournament. But I think we have time for one more since it's almost here, 2:15 as of right now. Just want to ask you one quick question. Is there any advice that you can give out to anyone who wants to be in this business that you're in like this? Because I know you say it's not easy. You started all the way from the bottom, made your way up to the top. So what advice would you give out to not just like in the players, like in the like playing basketball, but also like in the coaching business as well?
Yeah, whether you're a coach, media person like yourselves, or an athlete, I think a couple of things hold true. You guys know to work hard. I don't have to tell you that. You have to dedicate yourself. I don't have to tell you that. So some of those things you know, but you got to practice those things.
Yeah.
Right? You got to put the words into action. I would say number one is don't play the comparison game. It's one game you can never win. So don't look at what other people are getting, what other people are doing, what they have, because all that is a recipe for unhappiness. It stunts your growth. You've got to focus in on your improvement, your practice, your dedication, and hone your craft. And don't look at other people in terms of comparing. Now, you can learn from other people. That's a great thing to do. Find people in the profession you can take things away from. But don't play the comparison game, because I think that's going to hurt you more than anything else that you do. When your eyes start to wander on what other people are doing and what they're getting, it takes away from your progress, from your growth. And the other thing I would say is, big time is where you are. Like right now, where we are, this is big time to me. It's big time to you. If we join this podcast and we're thinking about what we have to do this afternoon or tomorrow or next month or when the high school season starts, then we're not giving our best to the podcast. And I don't think you become your best unless you give your best on a daily basis. When I talked about being a JV coach, a Division III assistant, a volunteer assistant at BU, a graduate assistant at BC, I treated every day like, I was the head coach of that team, like it was big time. And whatever they needed done, I did it in the best fashion that I could. So I treated every day like it was important, like it was big time. And I think that really helped me grow as a basketball coach. So those would be my two big pieces of advice for you guys and everyone else listening. Don't play the comparison game, because you can never win. Somebody's always going to be better than you, and you're going to be better than other people. But what you want to do is create value and be the best version of yourself in your profession, with the mindset of always growing to be better. And then, big time is where you are. So whatever you're doing that day, that's big time. When I hang up off of this podcast, what I do next will be important, will be big time to me.
Well said. That is incredibly well said. And I was just even talking about this morning. I was just like, man, just looking where I've gone from, where I come from, and and I've taken everything. Like this sports stuff has always meant the world to me. I just want to. Well, first thing first, I just want to thank God. Without Him, nothing's possible. And he led me. I feel like He's led me in the right direction because I have taken, like, every little thing that I've done has always been big time. And it just means the world. It really does mean the world. This basketball stuff is everything, and that's like the friendships are the ones that are kind of like the ones that I remember the most from all of it. So, but Mr. Biancardi, thank you so much for joining the podcast. It has been a pleasure, and really looking forward to seeing you this week. And as always, looking forward to staying connected along the way.
All right, guys, thanks for having me.
Hey, thank you, Paul, so much for everything.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right,
thank you, Mr. Paul.
See you guys.
All right.
See you.